Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on part 4 of our mystery blanket. I'm trying to fit it all in. Part 4 is our final part to our blanket, guys. But you know what? You are welcome to continue on once you join your pieces together today. So once we join our pieces together between each color and you do one round of single crochet afterwards, then you can continue creating your patterns over and over again if you want to make your blanket larger. If you want to keep it exactly the same as ours, then pretty much that's all I have left of the cotton. I think it's about, I don't know, 30 grams. So if I was to continue the blanket, we never would have made it, okay? But I did judge it on purpose to have just one final border round. Now the idea of making the border round very simple is because the blanket itself is, you just want a border to highlight the blanket. The blanket itself is quite bright with its color combinations, yeah? All right, that's all I want to say, guys. In this particular tutorial, you're going to need a lot of stitch markers for counting purposes more than anything. And that's maybe counting 20 stitches across, pop your stitch marker in, and so on and so on. And of course, you need your stitch markers for your corners anyways. You're going to need a lot of them, yeah? Don't forget you need the rest of your yarn. Once you do this round here, you won't need this colour anymore. Once I got to the end of the round, that was the first time we had cut the purple thread and the others as well. And I forgot that was the first time and I went, oh my gosh, that's the first time we're cutting it. So there you go. Once you get to that last purple round, you'll be cutting your thread and you'll be working only with the cream. All right, so that's it, guys. You will need your scissors, you'll need stitch markers. There's like 100,000 stitch markers, and of course you will need your usual crochet hook, whatever size you were using, and you will need this darning sewing weaving needle. You'll need it today, you'll need it. And I found a place for it during my lives and during my tutorials, not my lives, during my tutorials. I put it in the bag here like this so it doesn't go missing during my tutorials like it usually did. But there you go. I don't know why I'm telling you that. You don't need to know that. All you want to know, I know all you want to know, is how to complete your blanket today. That's it. Thank you very much for joining us and good luck completing your blanket. Alrighty guys, where I left you off last time, these squares are way too big now, is to do one round of your single crochet. Now there is actually another round, and it's a round of just plain double crochets. So let's start off with firstly popping your hook in your single crochet with the stitch. Wait a minute, let's go right into it. Let's literally take that chain undone and we'll slip stitch. Finish off your single crochet there into the same stitch as your half double. So what you should have in there is a half double and a single, and then you put your single in right at the very end, and then you slip stitched to join like so. So what you should have is that, and I asked you not to cut your thread. Yeah, we're going to chain 1, 2 and 3. Grab your stitch marker again, like so. A double crochet in the same space as what you are in, yeah, and then double crochets all the way across. So one in your very next stitch, don't miss that next stitch, yeah, you'll be short otherwise. One in the next, one in the next, and one in your next, all the way in your round. All right, so I'm going to get you to get to, firstly, that might be a little too close, sorry guys. I'm just going to get you to get to your very next stitch marker there. Once you get there, just do one side right there, and I'll meet you there once you're done. All right, so double all the way across, get into that very first stitch marker you see, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, I asked you to get to the end of this side right here. Oh, look how far away we are. Alright, and from here what you're going to do is pop into the stitch marker stitch with 2 double crochets. So in you go, 1 and 2. and you can remove that stitch marker. By the way, you now should have, from that stitch marker there all the way up to here, you should have 89 stitches. Yeah, so chain 1 and 2, and in the same space you're doing 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Then you don't need to put your stitch marker back in there because you can now see the corner. It's prominent. If you want to pop it in, you can, but you don't really need to, okay? So now you're going to double crochet into your next stitch, double into your next, and double into your next. I don't need to tell you what to do now. I think you pretty much know. All right, so that's it, guys. Your job is to now, I have to fold it all over the place here, is to go across here, complete this side, go over here, complete that side, go all the way across there, get to the stitch just before your stitch marker, meet me there, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next, all right? So go ahead and finish that whole round, and I will meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this round. Get excited. Now you should have 89 stitches per side. I've got 87 here because I need to do my 88th and 89th stitch in there. So off we go doing our last 2, which is 1 and 2. And you are chaining 1 and 2. And then you're slip stitching into your stitch marker stitch like so, all the way through, pull up a loop, give your purple a cut, leave yourself a long tail, yeah, so give your purple a cut, pull that loop right there, yeah. Normally we would pull our cream through. Oh, you're wondering what's going on. We're cutting our purple, yes. Normally we would, that's the last time you'll use your purple, by the way. So normally we would pull our cream through, but this time we're going to pop our hook in the center, remove the stitch marker in the center. Let's try that again. And then, whoops, just pop your purple at the back there. We're going to attach the cream as normal. So you pull your cream right through the center, grabbing the tail end and just passing it forward. We haven't turned it around, it's still facing the right way. Chain 1, half double crochet in that space as well. So do your half double US, half treble UK, yeah, like you've been doing this all along, yeah. So pop your stitch marker in your half double, and once again you're popping a single crochet in the corner like you've done with your other single crochet rounds, yeah. So single in the corner, and you'll notice I've been crocheting over the tail. I'm going to pass all the tails at the back. We're going to weave those in later. Now remember to put a single crochet in that top chain stitch where your purple thread is coming out of. So single crochet into that stitch, single into your next, single into your next. I'm having a funny feeling that you know what's going to happen in this round, yeah? But let's just keep putting our singles all the way across that single US, double UK. There you go. You need to do your single crochet all the way across, get to your very next corner and wait for me there, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, single all the way across, get there, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this side. Oh, we're here at the end of the side, and I've put my hook in all wrong. Here we go. And I think I have one more single crochet to go, and yes, well that's a little bit too close, but there you go. All right, I have one more stitch there, and then we're heading into the corner. Okay, the corner needs to have one single crochet, a half double crochet, like we've been doing all along in our single crochet rounds. Grab your stitch marker, pop it in your half double crochet stitch or half treble UK, and another single crochet in the same space. Move your work over, find that first stitch, and do your single crocheting all the way across this side. It's super easy. Now, just a quick heads up, if you're wanting to know how many stitches you should have had along the side, you should have had, I can get this to come out a bit. You should have, try it again. There we go. You should have had 91 stitches for this side. All right. So now that you know what's going to happen, 91 stitches for each side, single crochet, half double, single in the corner, you can now complete the rest of this square. All right, so once you complete this square, get to the very last 2 stitches right here, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this round. Get way too excited. I have 90 stitches across. I need to put my last stitch in there, so one more single crochet in that stitch there. Now I didn't crochet over my purple tail, but it would have benefited for me to have done that, but that's okay. We're still going to weave them in really well. What we're going to do now is slip stitch into, let's move that purple out the way, slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker. Don't remove your stitch marker. Pull it through, pull up a loop, grabbing your scissors, giving your piece a cut. All right, and just pull that thread through. You're done with that square completely. What? Hopefully you did leave your stitch markers in, because what we're going to do now is repeat what we've done so far on the purple for the green, for the yellow, and for the grey, or whatever colours you used. You need to repeat what we've done for our purple on your next 3 colours. Once you're done, return back here right now, today, not tomorrow, but today, and we will join all our pieces together. Yay, get excited. Continue that for the next 3 colours, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are ready to crochet our pieces together, and this is my layout: grey opposite purple, yellow opposite green. You don't have to do this layout, you can have your own kind of layout, whichever suits you. But what I do want to let you know is my tails, when we're crocheting ours together, my tails are on the right hand side of this side and the left hand side of this side, and we are working on the right side of our work. So the little tail that was in the center should be underneath your work now. All right. Now what I've done is, just for argument's sake, I've attached 1 stitch marker in the center. That's not for anything. That's not to show you the right amounts or measurements or anything. That's just to show you that's the first 2 squares we're working on, and we are going to work from top down, and then we'll be attaching these. But don't worry about these for now. What I want you to worry about is these 2 squares. Pop a stitch marker in any stitch opposite the other side. Any stitch, don't count. It's just there to show you exactly where we're going to start. All right. Now, remembering one thing, your tail should be on your left hand side of your first piece, and your other piece, your tail should be on the right hand side. So I hope that makes sense. Now let's join our pieces together. Alrighty guys, this was actually facing that way, and remember how I popped a stitch marker in the middle and said it means nothing? Well, it does mean something a little bit, but for now all it does is keep those 2 pieces close together. What you're going to do, this is the full piece, yeah, it's like that. What you're going to do is make sure your wrong side of your work is facing down, and the right side of your work, the nice side of your work if you will, is facing you now. Put both the colours that you want to join together, put them together like that. All right. Now, heads up, this join is not for the new crocheter. All right. But my theory is take a risk. Always take a risk with something new. Yeah. However, if you decide you've tried it and you thought, oh, I don't like this, it's way too difficult, then what I want you to do is actually hold out another week, and I will do an easier join for the new crocheter and an easier border round, if you will. both the join and the border round is going to be a little bit difficult for the new crocheter, so heads up. Again, you can attempt it. My suggestion would always be to try something new, but if you find after a while you can't do it and you're stressing out, take it undone and meet me back here next week and we'll do a totally different join with a total different border, all right? But in the meantime, for the rest of us, and again, newbies, take a risk, have a play, see what happens, yeah? This is a very advanced stitch, so just be wary. We've never done this join on the channel before. We've done some similar joins, but not this one here, so I'm very excited to show you this one. It's kind of like a flat look, but has a slight lift, but you can't tell. Yeah. All right. So let's get a nice close up of the two pieces. Now, remember your tails. Let me bring that out again. Sorry. Remember your tails should be, your green should have the tail on the left-hand side. Your purple should have its tail on the top right-hand side. But when you face them to the side, they'll be over there, right? They're not to be near the part where we're going to join together, only because it's noticeable with the tails, okay? So the joins will not have any tails next to them, except the ones we're going to use to join it, of course. All right, so here we go. I'm going to try and get it as close as I can without it blurring. Oh, it's turning a different colour. It must be the green. I think it's the green that's making it turn a different colour. All right. So grab your first piece, and it's the top piece. Always think about the purple. That's what we've been working on all along. So grab your purple and see that stitch marker is in the full stitch. That is the top stitch of your work, and that is the bottom stitch, or the base. We'll call it the base stitch for this particular tutorial. What we need to do is go into that very base stitch there, all right? So removing your stitch marker, making sure you don't lose that spot, and go into the base of that stitch on that side, yeah? You're going to do exactly the same here, the base of the stitch on the opposite side. Remove that stitch marker. This first step is a little bit difficult and you can end up losing a thread, so just be wary. Grab your cream, that's the one we're using. Don't use a different color or it makes it an unusual look, all right? Pull it through that stitch and pull it through the stitch on your hook. What we're going to do is just pass our tail end underneath without losing your hook there. Pass it underneath there, don't lose that stitch. And just leave it there for now. You're going to hold it just for the first stitch. After that, things will change. You leave your center thread down, don't hold it yet. And now all you're doing is going to the very next base stitch of your purple square and the base of the next stitch in your green square. Oops, let's try that again. Hello, my stitching's really tight. There. Now grab the thread underneath, holding the tail in your hand just for this one stitch. Grab that thread underneath, you're pulling it through the loop on the first one, through the loop on the second one. It's a little bit awkward. It's easier to pull it through all three loops at the same time. I'll do it again, okay? You can drop that tail. Once you've done your second stitch, you can drop the tail if you like, all right? So going onto your third stitch with the base, see if I can get it a bit closer for you. And then the third stitch, being careful not to go into the same stitch, yeah? Third stitch, and it's the base stitch, all right? Turning your hook this way, you pull it through that first one, and you pull it through the next two. It's easier to pull it through all three at once. I'll do it where I'm pulling it through all three at once than it is to do them separately. So pop your hook down there and into the next stitch, grabbing your tail, a gentle tug, don't pull it too tight, and then just pull it through all three stitches. A real close-up of just the first stitch and then the second one. So you're going in the base of the top square, the base of your lower square, and grabbing your thread and pulling it through all three loops. All right. Again, if you are new and you are struggling with this stitch, by all means, wait till next week. All right. You can see that you're in that stitch. Be careful not to go back into it. It's easy to go into it. Make sure you go right into the base of that next stitch. and pull the thread through. Okay, base of your top stitch, base of your lower stitch, and pull the thread through. Now I'm showing you how to do this way for the camera, but it does pay to have your work laying flat on the table and maybe keeping your hook loose and pulling it through. These are different tips that you can do to use this join, but look at this join. I mean, how gorgeous is this join? Now, the other way you can do this is if you wanted to, you can just use a sewing needle and sew through the base threads. It doesn't give it this gorgeous look with a top single crochet look that this does give. So just remember that it's the base of your top square. You can leave your thread down there, the base of your lower square, and then pick your thread up and then pass it through all 3 loops on your hook. One more time. We're in there, we've got to be careful, make sure we don't go in the second one. Base of your top square, base of your lower square, and pull your thread through. If you do this too tight, your hook is going to slip out of the stitches, all right? So try not to do this stitch too tight. Don't leave it too loose either. At the end of the round, we will work on this because we have not knotted this, okay? And if you keep doing this, that's going to come undone. So we will work on this at the end of this row. But for now, we're going to continue. We'll do a couple more stitches and then you can head off on your own because this will take way too long. So it's the base of the top stitch, the base of your base stitch, and pull the thread through. All right, so I'm hoping that all makes sense. So have a look at that join. Now, not only does it look gorgeous on this side, but when you turn it around, it looks pretty cool on the other side as well. Now, heads up, the reason it's taken me a little long for this blanket to go out, or this part to go out, is because I did this single crochet round on the wrong side of my work. And I did that on purpose because at that time, that was our pattern, to do our single crochet on the wrong side of your work. But for this round only, your single crochet needs to be on the right side of your work. So remember that. If you've done it on the wrong side, you need to take it undone because it'll change the look of the whole pattern and it won't look as gorgeously flat and nice as that. How pretty does that stitch look? I love, love, love. All right, so your job, I don't know why I did that, but your job now is to head off on your own, get across here. You can take that stitch marker out now. Like I said, it was only to show you that we were going to be putting these 2 pieces together. So your job now is to go through all the stitches, get to the end of this side. Don't go into the corner. Just get to the last stitch before the corner, and I'll meet you there and we'll talk about joining the other 2 pieces. But just keep going all the way across. It's going to take you a little while. Get to that area there and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end. How exciting. What a beautiful join. I love this join and it really suits the solid stitch. Solid stitch is when you're doing double crochets all in around and there's not as many gaps here. So it kind of really suits the solid stitch, but there you go. And again, if you did struggle with it, wait till this time next week and I will upload an easier version for the new crocheter. Oh, that's probably too close now. All right, so where you should have got to is I've got 1 stitch before the stitch marker. Now, if you ended up in a different section, you've either done this section wrong or you've actually miscounted the stitches in your round. If you want to fudge it, you can, but know that when you fudge it, it will bubble a little bit, okay? Your piece will bubble. So I would find out where the error is. If you've made an error, if you haven't, and you're just like me, we're going to go by doing our very last base stitch from our purple, our very last base stitch on our green, grabbing your thread and pulling it through like normal. Now here's where it's going to get a little tricky because we've got our stitch markers, but just know that you're doing the very next stitch. That's all you're doing. So take out your stitch markers. This is the last join for this section, and then we're going to attach the other two pieces. All right, so all you're doing, where is that thread there, is take the base loop. You may not be able to do that. Take the base loop, there's your stitch completely, yeah. Take the base loop of that stitch, and there's your stitch completely. Take the base loop of that stitch and just pull the thread through like normal. And now what you're going to do, very basic, you're going to grab your next, let's try that, your next two squares. Now remember, your next two squares, this is where it's going to get very awkward for me, guys. Recording with all this on the table is a little bit awkward. Your next two squares, once again, I want the yellow to be opposite the green. But see that tail? Oh, where is it? Let's try and find the tail. There it is. Find the tails of your yellow one, if you're using yellow, and that's going to go, your tail's on that side. So just push your new colour up to there. All right, so your tail should be on your left-hand top side. This is the right sides of your work still. Now grab your next colour, which mine is the grey. Why is it I spin it around 4 times before I get to the tail? Which means I had it to begin with. The tail end of your piece, I'll bring it this way, should be on your left-hand side on the base. So move that right over to the base, and your tail on the grey should be right on that other side there, and the tail on the yellow should be right on the other side there. There should be no tails here and no tails at the end of each of these pieces. All right, so, okay, this is where we were. We're going to continue to place our thread in front. And once again, we're going to do the same thing we did at the beginning. We're going to go to the top loop of our stitch marker stitch. You can remove that stitch marker now. This is one of my old ones. I don't like using that very much. And I've lost my stitch. So I meant the base loop, not the top loop, the base loop. Come on, Mary, do it right. Of that stitch. And the base loop of the opposite side with your stitch marker. You can remove that. This is going to be a little loose, all right, just for this moment. And you're going to just tighten your thread a little bit, not too much because we don't want it to pull. And then just pull it through like you're doing a normal section. And this one's a little tricky because my top thread was a little loose. So what I want you to do is gently tighten it up because you don't want to keep that section loose. When you do the next stitch, that will help you. So go straight into the base loop of your top piece, base loop of your opposite side, pull that thread through all 3 loops, which is a little tricky right now, and you want to make sure you have tightened up this area, just this area, because later if you don't tighten up this area, it's going to be like that when you come back down this way. We don't want that. We want it tightened up a little bit, not tight where it's really pulling, but tightened a little bit. Yeah, there. All right, so on the way back later we'll know where to go, but for now your job is to do exactly that. Top square your base loop, base square your base loop. It's all too much to think about, isn't it? Okay, so base loop on the top, base loop there, and off you go. This part is, well, I say it's easy, but it's not. But once you've done it, you kind of get the flow. I've got a flow happening now, which I didn't have in the beginning, but I've got it now. So it goes to show you it's just a matter of practice. Yeah, so there you go. All right, super easy. Your job is to continue along, not super easy, I shouldn't say that, it's not super easy. Your job is to continue along, get to the end right here where your last 2 stitch markers are, and I'll meet you there once you're done, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so before we continue, make sure you haven't twisted your pieces around and that your wrong sides are facing. You don't want to do that, but going right along here, I've done mine a little too tight with this one. It's got to be careful. If it's too tight, it will pull like that. It was like gently pulling. You don't want that. I'm trying to stretch it out before I continue. All right. So that's one thing. If you do it too tight, the same thing if you do it too loose, it's going to come up pretty bubbly and whatever else have you. All right, in the meantime, where are we? Where's my thread? Keeping your thread in front at all times. I need to do my last stitch before the stitch marker. Again, if you haven't married up, make sure you haven't got a wrong count somewhere. All right, pop your loops through like so. Once again, we're going to do the same with this one here. We're going into the base loop of that stitch marker. I can take that out now. Yep. And we're going into the base loop of our last stitch marker, and I can take that one out. It's another one of these old ones. Yeah, I use different ones all the time, guys. So you've got your 3 loops like normal and you're pulling through like normal. However, now we're just going to pull up a loop like so, grab your scissors and cut your piece. Now, where's my scissors? I'm saying that and stalling because I can't find the scissors, but here we go. There's the scissors, pulling your loop through. That side there has knotted, but we're going to crochet over that anyways later. Remember, this side has still not knotted. We're going to leave that there and we'll do that later as well. Let's bring that down again. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to grab the purple and the yellow, facing it the other way, and we're going to do the same for the opposite direction. Sorry, the blanket is really big here, guys. We're going to do the same in the opposite direction. So grab your new colour. Now, between you and I, on purpose, I left this thread on this side to show you what happens if it's in the way. You're going to have way too many threads and it's going to be awkward. All right, so you don't have to worry about that, but if you've left your thread on purpose, I've done this, so if you've left your thread, you'll know how awkward and difficult it can be when we're doing this next step. All right, next step is we're grabbing our cream yet again. Grab your cream yet again. All right, so we've got our cream. Let's see if we can bring this up nice and close. All right, so I left all my threads here, which can be really annoying. I'm going to pop all the other threads underneath so you don't have to worry about them. And then there's this one right here. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, but it does become a little annoying when you're doing this particular join. So grab your hook. Once again, you're going to your top piece and you're going down the base loop of that corner stitch with my old stitch marker in there. Yep. Then you're going down the base loop of the opposite stitch. And again, the thread's not too much of an issue, but it will be later. So taking out that stitch marker, it's a little bit of an issue. Look at that. It's really annoying, actually. It's very annoying. All right. Now, the other threads that I haven't weaved in, also annoying, right? So grab your cream, new cream, and pull it through the loops. All right. Now again, this is not going to be knotted, so keep that in mind. I'm going to place it in between and at the back. Remember, at the back where I can hold it. The thing is, because I have all these threads, I literally now have to hold all the threads. Even if weaving them in, it would still be annoying around here. All right. So now what you do is you go into the very next stitch. You know this part, but I'll show you anyway. And into the next tight stitch there. Oops. See, I've grabbed all the threads, being very careful. Yeah. And again, we're going into the very next stitch. I've already dropped my tail, but I'm going to tighten everything up because I think it's a little loose around here. All because of the threads that I left, all right? And there you go. So it's all tightened up there now. And we are going to continue to go across like normal. Now, you know what you're doing here because, well, you should be an expert at it now. Top, base loop. No, I won't say that. I'll say yellow colour base, purple base. That's better. That's the way I should call it, yeah. Yellow base loop, purple base loop. And pull that tail through. All right, a little tricky. Yes, we know. We've done 2 sides that have already, well, 2 pieces already. All right, so, oh, excuse me, here we go. So what we're going to do is continue along the way. And what I want for you to do is to get to maybe a couple of stitches before, 1 or 2 stitches before the corner, and I'll meet you there once you're done. So I want you to continue all the way along there, get to that corner, and I'll meet you there in just a moment. Actually, guys, before you head off on your own, I've gotten 3/4 of the way through my piece. Make sure that your yarn is under the second set of squares, because I had it just under these 2, and when I got here, the yarn was on top. We need your yarn to be under that second set of squares, not just under here, but under the second set as well. And you're pulling it through both sets. Only because once you get here and you get closer, your yarn needs to be under and not over. Otherwise, you're working backwards. All right. So just make sure that your yarn is under your second set. All right. Alrighty. I stopped a little earlier too as well, because I noticed this now, but this is normal, okay? Your thread should be like that. No matter how you work it, it should be there. If you wanted to keep pulling that through like so, you can continue to do your stitches that way if you wanted to, or, and I'll show you another way. So there's 2 ways of doing this. Pull the thread through like normal. Or you could just let go of your thread like so, and it's a little awkward, but you could work it like this, where you're just going down your stitches like normal. And then underneath you're grabbing it and popping your hand over your work. So you're holding it there and you're holding it there. Again, it's a little awkward. It's just for this one section here, giving it a tug, and then continue on. So I'm still holding my thread there. And then just continuing on. It is very, very awkward around this space here. You've got 2 more. Almost there, guys. Almost there. Once you get it through that first stitch, the rest is normal, yeah? All right, we're on our last stitch before that corner. So we're going into the last stitch, being careful to just pick up the 1 stitch, into the last stitch. Oh, I almost missed it. The last stitch right there. Pulling our loops through like normal. And here's where it gets a little tricky. We go into that base stitch and into the base stitch there, and we pull it through like so. Then we're doing exactly the same here, going into the base stitch of the stitch that's been crocheted into already, and the base stitch of that same stitch, and pulling it through. And now we are going to start the next side. As simple as that. So the trickiest part was around here. This part was relatively easy, and the rest you kind of know what you're doing. Now the bonus is that has actually filled up that whole space there. So you don't have massive gaps there. What you have is the normal join gaps, your 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. And off we go doing the rest of our side. It's very exciting. But I don't think I need to show you the rest because you know what you're doing here. So what I want you to do now is to continue along this side. And let's bring that out again. There we go. To continue along this side all the way across. And once again, yours truly has left knots there. All right, tails. Because I wanted to show you what happens when you leave too many tails in one section. You pretty much know. It doesn't worry me because I'm used to weaving in tails, so I don't have a problem with it. But just to show you how awkward that this join is with tails. All right, so continue all the way along there and get to the end of your side, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, and now we are on the end of this, well, what can I say? The end of our join, really, if you think about it. And then it's time to close up shop. How exciting is that? All right, so I got to the last 2 stitches. I think I did my second last stitches, and I have, let's move that out the way, a stitch left before each side. So I'm going to complete it again. If you are short, just check where you are short and fix your error. If not, just continue on like us. Oops, let's get in frame, Mary. Base stitch on that side, base stitch on the other. We still haven't gotten through to the main stitch yet. All right, so on this side too, I left the threads in this corner on purpose again to show you how awkward it is and why I didn't want you to have your threads here. All right, so pushing your thread down, if you've got a thread, just push it right down at the back. And what you want to do is start from the top, because that doesn't have a thread for starters, on purpose, yes? Start from the top. And that's the main stitch with your stitch marker you're going into now. And to get to the base, you kind of have to put up with this thread here. So just leave it there for a second. No, don't leave it there. It's got to go under. See how awkward that is, which is why I didn't want you to go into the sewing side of it, the thread side of it. Let's remove the stitch marker. Hopefully this shouldn't bother you. This shouldn't be an issue for you. But there's the base loop of that top stitch, which is fairly tight because I've got a stitch in there, the chain in there. Or the knot, I should say, in there pulling. So base loop, pull it through and pull it through all the loops. I don't want to do that again. Pull it through all the loops like so. Pull up a loop and give your work a cut. I'll bring that out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Giving your work a cut. All right, now you've knotted that side, but see my little thread, it's sticking up. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull that through and really sew that in, which is why I didn't want threads to be on the ends here. I did it for me. It doesn't worry me because I know how to do that sort of stuff and that's okay, but I didn't want that to happen to you. All right, so there you go. That's your whole piece done. You are actually done. However, we're now going to put a, what I like to do, a base border around. All right, so what you want to do is find a corner, any color, it doesn't matter. I'm starting with the yellow because it's the closest. It does have a knot in it, but that's okay. That's okay. Pop your hook in the top stitch there. Grab your cream yet again. Pop it over your hook and just pulling it through like so. And once again, because it is a corner, firstly, I'm going to make that, lock your chain into place, chaining 1. And because it is a corner, you're going to start with your half double crochet. So yarn over your hook, into the stitch, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2. It's half double US, half treble UK. And just pop your stitch marker in. You can pass your little thread over. If you want to crochet over that, you can. But I'm going to pop a single crochet in the same stitch that we are in, as though we were doing a normal single crochet round. Then single crochet all the way across. You know this bit. You've done it a million times before. And yeah, that's it. But what I want you to do real quickly is single crochet. Oh, I wonder why that wasn't working. Here we go. Single crochet all the way across until you get to the very end of your yellow section. Maybe about 4 stitches off the end. Just go single crochet all the way across, get to the middle section right there, and I will meet you there in just a moment. Alrighty, so here I am at the end of this half side of the blanket, half side of one side. Now I've got stitch markers here. Ignore them. That's just to help me count. That's 20, 40, 60, 80. And then we're going to count more as we go along. That's not for anything. It was just to help me count because I lost track of count. As you do. I lost track of count. All right. So I asked you to get to this stitch marker right here. I'm going to remove the stitch marker. All right. So I've removed my stitch marker. And what I have is, and so you can get a nice close up and have a look, I have the last stitch here, the last stitch there, and these 2 joined stitches. All right. What we're going to do is put a single crochet in that next stitch. And where we joined, remember we joined in the base loop only, and that's the top loop. What I want you to do now is pop your hook through the whole stitch of that. Now, before you continue, grab your tail, passing it at the back. All right. And you're going to do a normal single crochet over it. Then, before you go into your next one, you're going to do a single crochet over this stitched area. So you're going in between the 2 stitches, in between the actual stitch, the 2 loops of the stitch, pull a loop through and do your single crochet. Then once again, you're going to go into that stitch, but not just a back loop, you're going into the whole stitch. Pop your hook in the stitch, pull a loop through, single crochet. So what you did was you single crocheted in the full stitch of this row here, single crocheted in between the 2 loops of the stitch that we did here, and then you single crocheted into both the loops of that starting row there. All right, I hope that all made sense. And then all you're doing is you're single crocheting all the way across your piece until you get to your very next corner. All right, simple as. I'm going way too fast because I don't think you need to see me do this. Do you like that? She's going very fast. All you want to do now is to make sure you get your count right. So I would suggest maybe exactly what I'm doing here is to just place stitch markers on every 10th stitch or every 20th stitch, or place some sort of piece of thread or paper clip, whatever you have in stock, on each stitch so it's easy for you to count. For me, it's easy to go 20, 40, 60, 80, but it might be easy for you to go 10, 20, 30, 40. Might even be easier 5, 10, 15, whatever is easy for you. Make sure you have your stitch markers here because your blanket is huge now. Okay, so the amount of stitches it will make sense later, not so much now. So make sure you get all your stitch markers placed and then we can count later. All right, head off on your own in the meantime. I'm so excited now because we've joined our pieces, and complete this side right here. Get to your very next side here and we will talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, I am at the end of this side and it is, oh, there's so much, so many stitches. We'll go through that in a minute, but for now, what we're going to do, I'll leave that stitch marker there, we won't worry about that. That's for my count, which we'll talk about in a minute why. All right, so we are now here. We have our last single crochet here and then our half double. So we're going to do a single in there, but I'm going to pop my tail at the back so that I can crochet my first single crochet over it, or the one single crochet over it. And in that stitch here, we're going to do a normal corner, yeah, for the single crochet round. So all you're doing is single crochet, half double, pop your stitch marker in that half double, so keeping the pattern the same, yeah, and a single all in the same corner. Now you know that we've been doing it throughout the whole blanket, and then you single crochet across your next side. All right, I'm going to hold it here for a minute so we can have a quick chat. All right, so real quickly, and let's bring this out again. Real quickly, we have, so that you know, we have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, I think it's 7, but I'm not sure. 180, she's not sure. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. Now this is not including the half double crochet stitches. So you need to have 187 stitches along the side, and then you have your half doubles in each corner. All right, so that's that. Now your job, oh my gosh, now that you know how to crochet this section here, you need to complete 1, it's too big now, 2, it really is too big, and 3. And you need to get all the way back around to just before the stitch marker on the lemon or the yellow piece. And I will meet you all back here and get ready for some very big instructions. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of the round. It took me like, well, it didn't take too long. Single crochets are easy. I just wanted to make it sound like it took me forever, but it really didn't. All right, what you should have at the moment is a whole round of single crochets, but in the corners you should have what we normally do in the corners, which is your single, your half double and your singles. But I just wanted to get to here because here's where we've got a whole lot of knots and everything happening. But really we kind of only have one single crochet there, which is like that, crocheting over your tail, like so, there. And then we have one more single crochet, which is there with the knot right there. Yeah. Then you hop into the corner and you do your last single crochet and you slip stitch to join. Don't remove your stitch marker. Let me try that again. Don't remove your stitch marker, and I'll explain why. All right. We're going to grab one of those really, really loose threads. Remember that stitch? Let me bring this up. Remember that stitch, the beginning stitch, which was really loose? That one thread which will be right in the center. Don't forget to weave these other ones in. You know how to do this, just you've done them before. But this one thread right here, I want to weave in with you. Now the reason is this is a thread that was not knotted. Okay, not knotted. Try say that fast 10 times. Not knotted. And what I want you to do is to make sure that this is relatively tug. Not too tight where it's pulling, but tug, yeah? Then you're going to find some... Let's just do that instead. That's better. Then you're going to find some... We're already here. That's where we crocheted over it. You're going to find a piece of thread, which is an absolute no-no, and you're going to split it. Any thread anywhere. Then you're going to go either down there through those stitches, through the stitch like that, but you are splitting that stitch so it's not noticeable in front. Yeah, so you split that stitch that way, then you go down to the other way, or you can continue going across here. I would leave these ones because you have all these other tails. I would go down this way. And just checking to make sure you can't see the needle from the front. I'm just used to knowing where to put it, so I don't bother to check. But you keep checking, yeah? And you're going through each one of these stitches. Can you see these stitches right here? Stay in frame, Mary. See these little stitches up the top there? That's where you're going through. Check the front. Can't see the needle. Fantastic. Right? Now I'm actually not going through the whole stitch. I'm splitting that thread. Now before you do any of this, by all means check your work, because if you need to take this undone, forget it. It's not going to come undone. So heads up. So just keep going as far down as you want. When you get to a nice long length, see how I don't trust it? And I'm still going. when you get to a nice, don't do that, long length where you are, you're going to go back. But you're not going back the way you came. You are, but all you're doing now is just splitting these threads here. Make sure you cannot see that needle from the front. And just pull that thread through. Believe me when I say that is not coming undone. Right? Now you're going to go back in the same direction again, splitting a different kind of thread in a different area, and just, I'm just going to tighten that a little bit, and just going back through. Only for this loose stitch you can do this with it. All right, having a look, can you see the needle? No, you can't. And just pull that thread through. You can keep going if you like, yeah, but I'm done there. All right, so just really, really focus on that first stitch where we didn't knot, because that will come undone in the wash. It can and it will. All right, the other thing we didn't do, which I'm thinking we didn't do it on purpose because we wanted to leave it there so that we actually knew the front to the back. I want you real quickly to weave these in. Now, if you've done them already, that's great. If you've just cut it there, be wary, that can come undone, and people have told me it's come undone in the wash. Not that I put my blankets in the washing machine. I wash by hand all the time. That's me being fussy. But a lot of people put their blankets in the washing machine, yeah? And then it comes out in the wash. And it can, and it will, because it's not knotted. It's just crocheted around, all right? And the bonus about doing this is you can actually tighten it up. And what you do is, you tighten it first, so you're closing up your hole. My hole didn't open, which is good. And then you're finding some yarn to split first, just a tiny, tiny little split. And then you are going around in that circle, yeah? Just check the front. I know the blanket is big. I would have weaved this in early. Can't see that needle there, right? I would have weaved this in earlier, but I've left this so that you guys can focus on which is the front and the back. And you're going in the round, and I'm not even in frame, am I? Come on, Mary, you can do this. And you're going in the round like so. All the way. Am I yelling in the camera? I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to yell. I'll quieten down now. Keep going in the round. Keep checking your work. I'm not checking because I know where I'm going. You can go that little bit further if you like. I'm going to just do that last stitch. Then I'm going to turn my piece around and go back in the same direction I came, but different stitch, of course. See where I am there? I am right. Let's get that out of the way so you can see. I'm right in that stitch there. So what I'm going to do is jump over the stitch and go into another stitch. So I'm coming out of there. You can see where I'm coming out of. And I've jumped into another stitch just to change the direction and know that I'm not going to, my tail's not going to come undone. Make sure you're checking the front, guys. I'm not doing it because, like I said, I'm used to it. And I am going to cut that. Mind you, I have messed it up once or twice before, so. And then what you do here, you just give it a tug. And notice when you give it a tug, it hides in there. Think about if you did not weave that in and you gave it a tug, your center will open, okay? So just think that is not complete. If you haven't done this and you're worried it's going to open, grab a piece of thread of the same color and just go around it a few times to keep it closed. If you're not worried, don't worry about it. You know, if you don't want to worry, that's fine. Okay, so if you're wanting to do the border round with us, let's start. All right, again, this round is not a round for beginners, and I nearly knocked the frame off there. Excuse me, Mary. It's not a round for beginners. All right, so heads up. Okay. If you are struggling with this round, I would suggest leaving it and joining us next week for a round that would help you. All right. So what we're going to do here, it's actually a stitch that works in the opposite direction of the way crocheters work. Totally against the way we work. Yeah. There are two names for it. One, reverse single crochet, or the other one, the crab stitch. A lot of new crocheters struggle with this stitch. So if you're struggling with it and you don't want to do it after you've done about 5 of them or 6 of them or 10, then hold out till next week. But for the rest of us, this is what we're doing. We are in that final stitch right there. The way it works is you hold on to your hook with your thumb, and the same stitch that you are in, you're popping your hook in, and you are pulling a loop with 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over your hook and pull it through like you were doing a normal single crochet, but it's up in the air. So what we're going to do is go into the very next stitch. Pop your hook into the stitch. We're going backwards, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops. Don't do these stitches too tight. Don't leave them too loose either, okay? You kind of need to keep consistency, which is why it's a little difficult for the new crocheter. Once again, you've got your stitch there. You're going back into the stitch. Pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops. And that is exactly what you're doing. Let me show you the stitch right there. It's the very next stitch before your work. So there you go, pull 2 loops up and pull through like normal into the stitch before your work. Pull a loop up and pull it through like normal. So it is just a single crochet really, but it's backwards. We are working backwards, totally against the way crocheters work, because we always work that way. We never work backwards, but we do with this stitch. Now I've left that a little bit loose. I'm going to do another one really loose so you can see what happens when things go wrong, right? So we'll pop our hook in, pull up a loop. I'll leave it really loose. It's ridiculously loose, but I just want to try it and show you. And if we were to pop it in the very next stitch, pull that loose. It's ridiculous. I've even split a stitch there, but I just wanted to show you what happens if it's too loose. And what will happen is someone walks past a blanket and pulls it, and that one little thread can come out. To fix that, forget it. You're going to be there with a sewing needle and you've got to go through each stitch all the way down. It's a real pest. I don't want to keep doing that because I've just pulled my thread. That's not nice. And I split my stitch. Mary! Don't do that. All right. So it is a tricky stitch, but I think you can do it. All right. And also too tight will be no good, because this stitch actually turns up a little bit. I'll show you as we go along with this round here. Just a little bit. We'll do about 4 more stitches, I think. So that's 3, 2, and 1. I reckon that'll do for now. It's always the last one that I mess up on. All right, so what happens here is this stitch can turn up. So if you crochet tightly, loosen your stitches a little bit. We are going to be washing and blocking our blanket once this particular border round is done. Now, normally I would have washed and blocked it on that very first round, but I had a lot of ends to show you, and I would have actually weaved those ends in, washed and blocked it on that first round, then joined the yarn on the corner and did a single crochet round and a border round. Yep, that's what I would have done normally. All right, but for now, your job is very simple. It's no, it's not simple, but you know what you're doing now. Single, reverse stitch or crab stitch all the way across until you get to your very next stitch marker. Now again, count doesn't really matter in this particular round at all. Count does matter if you're going to continue repeating your pattern, okay? Because if you go off track with a pattern and you're short, this section here where you do the clusters is not going to work. But for the rest of us, this is the border round that we are doing. What I want you to do, and I think we just weaved that end in there, didn't we? Yes, we did. Just get to just before that section where we put a single crochet in there. Just get to there. All right, so you are actually doing oh, if I can get this to go down, you're actually doing a quarter of a side. So do that side, get to that stitch marker right there, the end of your yellow, and I'll meet you here and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, I asked you to get to the stitch marker before the center of your work. There's nothing really you need to know, but I didn't want you to miss your center stitch. So what I've done here is I popped that stitch marker in so I don't lose my stitch. I do that occasionally. It's a little tip that I use often throughout our patterns here at Wow Crochet Designs. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to continue to go across. I think I've stopped a little too soon. Continue going across, being careful, keeping your tension correct, she says as she notices it's going a little bit haywire. All right, so what I've got there, right there, let's see how close I can get so it doesn't blur. Right there, that one there is the center stitch. So really we've got one more stitch to go before the center stitch. And then you've got that center stitch. It looks like it's just a tight nothing, but it is something you need to go into the center stitch like normal. Don't skip it, yeah? Go into your very next stitch and your next and your next and your next. But yours truly is not going to. She's going to stop right there because instruction time. All right, so we're going to head off on our own. We're going to continue along to this corner and we're going to get to the very next corner and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so continue along your side, get to this corner and I shall meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this side. Now it's confusing me a little because I've got to go left-handed. I've got to go this way. Alright, a bit overcrowded here for me guys, bear with me. Okay, so I asked you to get to this very next corner right here. So what I want you to do, I think I'm about 2 stitches away, maybe 3. Let's just continue until we get close to that corner. 2, oh, 1 more, 3. Okay, and there's the corner. Now initially we usually put single, half double and single, but in this round because we are doing the crab stitch or reverse stitch, we still go into the stitch and do a normal crab stitch. Remove your stitch marker. Now, so that your blanket doesn't curl, you're going to do another one in exactly the same stitch. So pop your hook into the stitch, pull a loop through, being careful not to pick up the first loops, complete it, turn your blanket, go straight into the very next stitch, being careful that you don't miss this first stitch, right there, and do your piece, just move it over a little bit. And then do your very next and do your next and do your next. Now you don't have to do this. I'm just going to pop my little stitch marker in it like this so I don't lose it. But just if you want, you can go and have a little bit of a tug there, being careful not to pull your thread like I almost did, or that will happen. Okay, so your corner should kind of look like a corner. If you only did one, this would turn up like that. But if yours is really loose, try the one, and if it doesn't turn up, then you can leave it as 1. I put 2 in there because my stitching is really tight, That's how I am. All right, so let's sort out what we're going to do. You know now how to start it. We've done it. You've gone right across the center, to make sure you don't miss that center stitch. You've gone all the way over to here and you know how to do a corner. This means you can do the rest of your blanket until you get to, I'm trying to find where we started, all the way up to the yellow right here. Let's get a close up. When you get to, I'm going to put a stitch marker in the stitch before our corner. like there. It's right before the corner. It's not necessary for you to do this, but it's more for my benefit to remind me that I still have not put 2 of these reverse stitches or crab stitches in the corner yet. So it reminds me of that. All right, so I'm going to pop a stitch marker there. What I want for you to do is continue your rest of your blanket. I don't know why I'm not that far out. Here we go. Continue the rest of your blanket all the way across. Get to the end of your round. Don't complete it. Wait for me there, and we will talk about finalizing our blanket. Wow, get excited, guys. I say it normally, don't I? But I really want you to get excited now because we are at the end. Get this, the very, very end of our blanket. That's if you did this particular join, yeah? And this particular border, yeah? All right, so here we are, and I've got 2 stitches before that stitch marker. Let's remove it. So it shows that I have 3 stitches left. So I've got 1, 2, 3. And then I have the corner. We haven't completed the corner, yeah? So what we're going to do, let's bring this up. Okay, I'm trying for it not to be so blurry, but it's a little bit blurry. All right, so we're going into our tight. I've got weaving in there, haven't I? Weaving in of ends, yeah? Tight third last stitch, I should say. Tight second last stitch. Tight last stitch before the corner. And then I've got my corner. What I'm going to do is do 1 in the corner first, like that. Remove the stitch marker. Pop it back in. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to pop the next one in the corner, but we're not going to complete it. We're going to pop it in, start it, pull it up, pull the loop through like so, lifting our thread. Oh my gosh, get excited. Let's cut our work. Oh, the blanket's falling off the table. Sorry, guys. So let's cut our work. I'm going to give myself a long tail just in case I mess it up. You know, things can happen. It's a really, really long tail. Excuse me, Mary. This is a really long tail. All right, so pull it through. Give it a gentle tug, not too much, because what we're going to do now is grab our sewing needle, because we're going to weave this end in. But it's not just a weaving in that we're going to do. It's a pushing all this down into our very last stitch. I'm sorry, let's try our very first stitch that we created right here. So what we're going to do is turn it the wrong side of your work. And what you're looking at, it's a bit hard to see the white, I'm really sorry, or the cream. What you're looking at is, let's see if I can find a better way of looking at it. See those loops there, all of that. Your needle has to go in and through the back. Right, so it's those little loops that went over. Now gently pull that through, very gently, so you can see exactly where it goes. And what it did was, it did just that. So it looks like you have completed the last stitch, which you really haven't, because all you've done is pull it through. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is literally find some stitches at the back, just a little bit of threads at the back, make sure you can't see the front, and pull that through like so. This is a really long tail. How naughty am I, right? And pull it down tightly, not too tight where it's tugging. You want to make sure that you can actually have it sitting down and it looks flat, all right? So we're going to go to an area where you can't see as many gaps, and you want to make, I think I've gone through too many thicknesses there and you can see the needle. So you've got to be very careful, that can happen. So you take it out and you readjust, making sure you just can't see that needle no matter how hard you try. There you go, no needle. All right, so you can call it there if you like, but yours truly, you know, she's such a nerd, right? She's such a nerd. She's going back in another direction. There's no way this tail is coming out. Okay, now this, I'm a little bit fussy. You don't need to be this fussy, but as long as you pull it through at least 3 times, you should be okay. I think I went through, I don't know, 4, I can't remember. I failed maths. No, not really. I just wasn't that good at it, but don't tell anyone. So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for joining us in creating our gorgeous mystery blanket. We've spent a couple of weeks working on it and it was so well worth it. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Do all the wonderful things that you guys, well, pretty much already do for me. Don't forget to join us on our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons, 10 a.m. Saturday mornings, Melbourne, Australia time. Marry that up with your country. And I will see everyone then. I love my beautiful blanket. Ciao for now.